Welcome to the video portion of Business Bits with Jim Farrow, a podcast show and blog post that covers issues that affect business professionals. And I can't think of an issue more prevalent than the fear of public speaking, which we covered today. And on the camera and on the screen, you will see the links to both the podcast episode and the blog post. We had the pleasure of having Patricia Stark, expert in this field. Thank you for it. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Patricia?
Sure. I have a company called MediaImageCoach.com, and I work with experts, authors, doctors, anybody who has to be in front of the media, maybe reluctantly. I also work with people who aspire to be television hosts or interview hosts for podcasts or anything like that, and then people who need to do public speaking in work or home life or anything, and help them to just really put their best foot forward and overcome their anxieties.
Do you mind if I ask you two questions?
Sure.
The first one is, why is it that when I let it known that we were doing this episode, I have gotten probably 20 emails, 5 or 10 phone calls, and a couple of in-person requests that they want the link. They are very interested in your topic. I've never got that with an episode before.
Well, there are a lot of statistics floating out there that, like, public speaking is the biggest fear in the world, and people fear it worse than death, and whether that's really the case for you or not, we've all heard those statistics. So that almost creates a little bit of inherent fear even before we've probably been put in the situation. It's kind of like if you only grew up hearing about plane crashes, you might not want to get on that plane, even if you didn't have your own fear of it. So there's a lot of hype about people being afraid of it, and we hear that so often.
As my wife would tell you, I've probably watched every Seinfeld episode 50, 60, 70 times. So is there some credence to what he says when at a funeral, people would rather be in the casket than give the eulogy?
I don't know. I mean, I guess some people might say yes, but I think if you really gave somebody the choice and said, you're either getting up in front of this room and speaking, or I'm going to shoot you in the head and you're going to end up in the casket, something tells me when push came to shove, people would say, I'll get up and speak.
Okay. I believe that. I believe that. Now, I've always been told by wise people that whenever you go to a seminar, whenever you go to a class, go away with at least one thing. Right? Could you give our audience one takeaway that in reference to the fear of conquering your fear of public speaking?
I think that when we think about being in front of the camera, being in front of a large audience, the first thing that comes to anyone's mind, it doesn't mean that we have a big ego or that we're self-centered, it's just that we all worry. I mean, the biggest question that my clients always repetitively say to me, it doesn't matter who they are, what if I stink? We worry about ourselves. We worry about if we're going to sound silly, say something stupid, say the wrong thing, blank out, lose our train of thought. It really is all me, I, and that's what we get hung up on, and that's when we get trapped in our own head and we can't get out. And it's the same. I like to compare it to, you know how they always said that when you volunteer and you help other people, it's actually good for your health. It's because you get out of your own head, you get out of all your own dwelling over yourself, and you get out and help other people. And that has the wonderful side effect of actually making you healthier. I like to say that that's very similar to public speaking, because if you can, and I say this a lot to people, and I said it in the audio interview, if you can try and figure out a way to make it not be about you, say, well, I've done all that I can do, I can't change the way I look, I can't change the way that my voice sounds, I can't change whatever these factors are, but what I can change is my mindset. And if I think about how can this speech, how can this presentation, how can this interview give something of value to people, how can I give something away to them that they can benefit by, I think that that really kind of flips it and helps you find a way to have this be manageable. For instance, if you had somebody that really had some kind of an illness and people didn't understand it, and you needed to get that message out in order to help them, you would find a way to give that speech, to go out and fight for them and do it for somebody else, because we just would do that if we care enough. When it's not about us, it's almost easier. It's just like if you're selling a product or a service, or you're there as an advocate for somebody else, it's a lot easier to give that extra energy and to give that fight, right? So when you're asked to give a speech or be on camera or something, you've got to psych yourself up and say, I've got to look at this as this is going to be educational for somebody, this is going to help somebody in some way, maybe it's going to entertain them and just get their mind off their worries, whatever it is that you're talking about or that you're speaking about, if you can try to put that spin on it, that you're there to be of service, to be of help, that same effect that you get when you volunteer and get out of your own self about what if I look stupid is going to get flipped to how can I help. That is incredibly empowering.
I want to thank you so much for appearing on our shows, the voice, the written, and the audio. Patricia, if someone wanted to contact you, how would they do that?
They can go to my website, which is mediaimagecoach.com, and my direct email is patricia@mediaimagecoach.com. And also you can search for me on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm happy to connect with you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.